And welcome to Inside the WSL, and welcome to Lewes, known for its beautiful views, its love of bonfire, and of course, having the first gender-equal football club in the world. Now, we're going to be taking you behind the scenes of this unique club, and I think weather-wise, we picked the perfect day for it, haven't we? And there's so much to get through that Lindsay's come along for the ride as well.
Yes, Jess, there's so much for us to get our teeth into with all the campaigning that's been going on off the pitch. We'll also hear from a couple of players and the manager later, so here's what's coming up on the show.
I literally felt like I knew her for about a year before. Like, honestly, that's how comfortable she made me. I had dinner at her house that night.
I don't know how she managed it, but she actually got Mary Earp's shirt as well, so her face was a picture.
One of the basis of Pink Floyd just popped in last week.
The plan is in place, as I said, to make it to the WSL. We know how difficult that will be.
Watch out, Lewes FC's coming.
So, all of that to come, but first I'm going to speak to one of the masterminds behind the development at this club, the CEO, Maggie Murphy. Maggie, thank you so much for inviting us down to come and check things out here at this football club. For people that don't know, why is Lewes unique?
Where to start? I think Lewes is best known probably for its equality stance. So back in 2017, we decided to split revenue equally between the men's side and the women's side. And that's obviously elevated our women's team to the point that they're in the championship, competing week in, week out with big Premier League branded clubs.
And you were the first club in the world to do that?
Yeah, that's right. I think at the time we thought that lots of other clubs would follow suit, but they didn't. So year on year, we are still the only club in the world to do that. And it's more than just pay parity. Everyone gets very hung up on the pay side of things, but actually it's about playing at the same ground, using the same facilities, resources, and also having the same marketing budget. Because essentially running a football club is like a whole package. You can't just take one angle and hope that it's going to thrive. You have to provide the environment around it. I think the other reason that we're really special is that we're fan-owned, 100% fan-owned. We have 2,400 owners in 40 countries around the world.
You've got some famous owners as well, I do believe, right?
Yeah.
Some names that people would recognise?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so Judy Murray came by a couple of years ago and she loved the club, didn't know much about it and became an owner quite quickly. Keris Matthews, musician, also an owner.
Nice.
And then one of the basis of Pink Floyd just popped in last week and is now an owner because he's moved to the area.
Now, it's my understanding that the majority, if not all, of the WSL clubs and the Championship clubs are actually making a loss. But what's different about Lewes, I believe, is that because you're having to fund yourselves, you haven't got the backing of a men's team, you're thinking about trying to become sustainable. So you're not losing as much money as some of the biggest clubs in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I think very bluntly, if we don't make money, then we'll die. So we are very thoughtful about every aspect of the club and how we generate money. Our ownerships are really crucial to us. We have dramatically increased our sponsorships and we have some brilliant sponsors on board now. Our match day is really crucial for us. We get good attendances. And because we play in the same ground, we own our own ground and facilities, it means that we make a lot of money off our food and drink. So we're making money in that regard as well. Then there's other little pockets of places where we make money.
And one of the big things that this club is known for is its campaigns for social issues, and a big campaign that started up recently that's been, I suppose not started up but continued at the club, is about FA Cup equal prize money. The players decided to write an open letter. What did you make of that?
For 4 years, the club has campaigned on equal FA Cup prize money. This year is the first time that the players said to me that they were kind of, Maggie, stop. We're doing this. Like,
really?
Yeah, it was really nice. Like from my perspective, I was like, okay, well, we've got this big game. We should use our voice and our platform.
It's good that they felt empowered enough to bring that to you and to say that.
Yeah. And, you know, they'll bring any matter of issue and topic to me as well. So that was powerful.
The criticism of all those people that want equal pay is to say, well, the women's game doesn't generate the same interest. It doesn't generate the same revenue. So therefore, they don't deserve the same payouts. What's your response to that?
There is only one football club in the world that has actually tried to figure out what happens when you invest equally. And back in 2017, our women made no money. They didn't. They ran at a loss. The people that came were friends and family. And today, you know, 5.5 years on, they make hundreds of thousands of pounds because we invested into them equally. Now the attendances are roughly the same. We had our club record sellout was on the women's side of the club. So it shows that in just 5.5 years, not 150 years, how much impact a little bit of investment goes when you think a little bit more equally. I think from an FA's point of view, they might say that commercially, the sponsorship money that comes in or the viewership figures are different. But I also think that there's a responsibility to think like an ecosystem and think about who needs a leg up and who needs a bit of overinvestment in order to generate the returns. So it's not just the players who deserve more, it's also the staff that deserve more. But we're functioning and thinking like an ecosystem. And the more that you have people who really understand and get the product, I kind of hate that term, but if you've got people that understand the potential and the power and the impact, and they can feel it, they get goosebumps. My staff get goosebumps at games. That is what you need. You need people to get that, feel it and transfer it when they're going into conversations, whether it's with the media or whether it's with potential sponsors or whether it's with fans that are going to come to the game.
We have to speak about one of the biggest moments in this club's history, the recent FA Cup quarter-final. You hosted Manchester United. It's the first time this club has been to a Women's FA Cup quarter-final, and you sold it out. In fact, you went above your regular sold-out attendance because you applied for extra capacity from the local council. Tell me about how it felt.
So it was really, really special. I think we got the goal of the day, even if we didn't win.
Emily Craft take a bow. I couldn't believe it. I was in the crowd and I thought she's not gonna try and chip the greatest goalkeeper in the world at the moment, is she? Yes, she is going to try it, and yes, she's going to execute it to perfection. And what a goal.
I know, and the crowd just went, it was like that beautiful thing where the crowd went wild. It was the only thing that people needed. They were already noisy and boisterous throughout the whole game, but that was the goosebumps moment, and that it was something really. I've watched it a million times back already because I can't stop. But
bless her. And the dripping pan, what an incredible atmosphere inside this stadium, and was once voted the greatest ground in Britain.
Yeah, we came in number one in this. It was like a fan poll. A book came out. And it came number one. I was like kind of flicking through to find out where we were. I didn't expect it to be all the way at the back in the first spot. But it's a beautiful ground. It's very quirky. It's very unique, special. We love playing here. The players love it. When we had the FA Cup draw, I saw a video of the players celebrating, and I thought when I was watching it and seeing the players, I thought they were celebrating like getting Man United because they were up for the fight. But it was actually that they just celebrated the fact that they were drawn out at home. And that shows how much the players connect with the wider club, the community, the fans, and the community threw that back in spades at them on the day.
Maggie, always a pleasure to talk to you. I feel like I learned so much. Thank you so much for inviting us down, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming.
That was Jess speaking to Lewes FC CEO Maggie Murphy, and I'm with James Boys, who's the club photographer here. And you won an award recently, James. Tell me about it.
I did, thank you. It was a recognition from Wikipedia for helping to increase the visibility of women's footballers on Wikipedia. By virtue of the fact that I published photographs with a specific license, which means that Wikipedia can then use them on their on the pages for a number of women footballers. So whenever Lewes play another team, they always then use those photographs of the other players as well as the Lewes players to include them on the pages of Wikipedia. So it's quite interesting. Not only we've got Lewes players, I've got some of the England players like Chloe Kelly and Beth Mead, which happen to have my photographs on their pages, as well as many others. So it's quite a nice thing. I didn't necessarily realise I was doing that purposely, but it's nice to have that recognition and suddenly realise that I'm doing something quite special. From a Lewes point of view, and the fact that you get this opportunity to be here and taking those match day photos, how did you get involved in the first place? Well, a long time ago, it was back in 2007 when I started primarily looking at the men's team, and then I understood that there was a women's team here. And at that point, like many people, I hadn't really followed any women's football. But I came to some matches and I just jumped in with it because it was no different really to the men's game in as much that the passion was the same. The enthusiasm, the drive, determination from the women players. Well, many Sundays I've watched the women here and watched a more exciting and entertaining game than I've watched the men, if I'm honest. And so sometimes I find that argument about women's football not being very exciting, I don't get that, I don't understand it.
Recently as well, your work has had a huge showcase because a big fixture happened here recently at the Dripping Pan. In the FA Cup, Lewes hosted Manchester United. I've already seen some of the photographs from that day, James, but which were some of your favourites?
In terms of photographs, it's nice to be up close with some of the players for training, and obviously at the end of the match when they were with the supporters, I've got a lovely sequence of photographs with the goalkeeper of my daughter's football team, who I don't know how she managed it, but she actually got Mary Earp's shirt as well, so her face was a picture. She'll never forget that, and her dad was just as proud as she was. So it's lovely to see that. It's hard to actually point to anything specific. I think it's nice to actually just to welcome the club, a club like Manchester United, to Lewes.
I will keep an eye out for all of your photos going forward, not only on the Lewes FC website, which I have kept across all of the photos on there, but we'll keep an eye on Wikipedia as well, knowing that a lot of those photos are credited to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Inside the WSL. We're still here at Lewes FC and we've made our way to the dressing room to speak to club captain Rianne and AXA as well. Good to see you both.
Thank you, nice to be here.
And you've played all around. You've played in America, you've played in France. How does Lewes differ to all those?
Yeah, actually I got released in France, so I was a bit gutted, thought that I would probably never play football again, and then was like, okay, I'll do my uni and this little team called Lewes, sounds nice, a little bit of football on the side. My first day, I think our general manager, now Lynn, spoke in front of us talking about her story into Lewes from a volunteer to then the welfare officer, and straight away I just knew like this was the club for me. And it's been 4 years now, and the more time I spend here, it's just like my home now, so it's really special.
How does it feel to be a part of a club that puts equality as one of its main purposes?
It feels great actually, because I've never actually been in a team that does that. So coming here I was like, you guys get the same, you guys get this, you guys get that, and I was like, oh wow, like the men do too. And it's like there's not one thing that I would say I would change and be like, oh well, the men get this and we don't, because everything really is equal. And people on the outside probably think, oh, they just say that just to make a good name for themselves. It's actually true, and it's actually unbelievable to be a part of, really.
Now you're the captain of the club. What kind of captain are you?
You better ask.
I don't know if I can name that. Nah, she's honestly unreal. Like, I'm not even saying this because she's here. She's probably one of the best captains I've had. The first night I got here, I met a few of the people in the club and she was like, oh, Rianne's coming down, like she's playlist. And I was like, okay, cool. I literally felt like I knew her for about a year before. Like, honestly, that's how comfortable she made me. I had dinner at her house that night. Like, honestly, like
She cook?
Nah, she didn't. It was a roommate. I don't know how good of a... She hasn't cooked for me yet. Anyway. But nah, honestly, on the pitch, off the pitch, she's always there for you no matter what. Like, she's just a phone call, a text away, and she'll always be there.
Let's talk about now one of the biggest moments in Lewes' history, the recent FA Cup quarter-final against WSL side Manchester United. I was in the crowd and the atmosphere was unreal. How did it feel being out on that pitch, Rianne?
We were actually talking about it today, and you just zone out. I think it wasn't till the end of the game when we kind of come up with the steps and we looked at everyone. I was like, was that everyone was here? So yeah, I think in the game you have to just switch on, especially when you're playing a team and the individuals like Man United. You don't have time to like admire the people in the crowd. I think in warm up I was waving to a couple of people, but as soon as the game started, I was like, where is Russo? It was a tough game, but we want to challenge ourselves against the best, and yeah, having the crowd there, it made it really special. I know friends, family, people that have come here when it's been really rainy, the weather's been rubbish. We've had about 50 people in the stands, and now for them to see it like that, it's just a really special day for the club and the town.
Not the result you would have wanted, but can we just take a moment to talk about Emily Craft's goal, please? What was your reactions?
Yeah, I think the photos and watching it back, we keep laughing, but we
lost your head.
Yeah, we've talked about it, like, we're never going to hear the end of that goal, but rightly so, like, it's a great strike. Yeah, but her family were in the crowd, so it made it really special. She struggled again, she's had 2 ACLs, she's only 21. Yeah, and she's been out for a couple of weeks with her knee too, and she worked really hard defensively, which we sometimes give her a bit of stick for, so yeah, she deserved that goal, and I'm glad she can look back at the game and have something to remember.
And her granddad came all the way over from Germany to see the game, didn't he?
Yeah, we were talking after the game, and apparently growing up he'd always take her to practice her headers and stuff, so I think he was really, really, really proud of her, and it's just, yeah, it makes it more special when you can have people in the crowd.
It's lovely. He got his passport specially before the game, right?
What's the chances?
Absolutely incredible. Axel, I also want to talk about a memorable moment in your career playing in Italy. the first player of Pakistani heritage to play professionally in Italy. That's a big moment for you.
Yeah, it was insane, honestly. And the crazy thing is, like, before that, I was so stressed that I wasn't going to find a team because it was getting to August. A couple of things fell through and I just came out of college. So I was like, oh gosh, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then Napoli kind of came up and I literally went over for like a trial, but they kind of signed me on the day 2 or 3. So I was saying to my family, I was like, I think I'm here to stay. Like, I'm not coming back. Like, I don't really know what's going on. And then to hear that was, like, honestly, like, amazing to be part of that and to, like, be known as that now as well. Like, it's really cool.
Now you're in England. There aren't many people from a South Asian heritage in this league or in the WSL. Do you concerned about that? Is that something that plays on your mind?
I mean, a little bit, I think, because I feel like, obviously, the way I grew up as well, it's difficult for anybody with a South Asian background to kind of, being a woman, I'd say, trying to get rid of the negative stereotypes that kind of come with it.
Is that what holds that community back,
For sure, yeah. And I just think a lot of, like, people, a lot of families don't really play into it and they're just, like, kind of stereotypically in the background and just saying, like, no, you shouldn't do this, you're a woman, you know, you have other priorities, let's say. But because of me, my family were always supportive. And I hope me being here now in England and stuff, it just helps people know they can achieve it if they can just carry on with it, you know what I mean?
Yes. And you recently wrote an open letter as a group of players to say that you think the women should get the same FA Cup prize money as the men. What was the driving force behind that? Why did you do that letter?
I think our teammate Loz, she's like our Lottie Wubben-Moy of Arsenal, the Lionesses. We were really inspired by the Lionesses, and especially when they had the success, when the government announced that this would be going into schools and with more PE lessons and stuff, we thought, right, we knew we had to do something for this big game. We have this platform, and I think the open letter then seemed like a no-brainer. And writing to Karen Carney, obviously, I've had discussions with her previously, and she really listened to us. We felt, heard maybe for the first time from someone outside of Lewes that really could make change with her review coming up. So, Loz was the inspiration, and we went from there, and we really got together as players. We had a meeting, and everyone was on board straight away, and we were all like, what can we do? So then there was like a team of about 4 or 5 of us that helped write the letter, make it more concise and reach out to different people to get support. And it's been great, the feedback that we've had, and it just made the whole day even more special that we were fighting on the field and off the field as well. Yeah,
I have a feeling that whatever happens in terms of changing the women's football landscape, Lewes will be right at the forefront of it, driving change forward. Great to see. It's been really good to speak to you. Thanks so much for having me and giving me your time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, that was great to get the player's perspective with Jess there. And now I've managed to find a quieter room to speak to one of the owners of Lewes FC. Ava Cunero joins me all the way from Gibraltar. Thank you for taking some time out, Ava. And you've got a big smile on your face. I imagine that's because Lewes have been doing brilliantly recently.
It's a pleasure to be here. Many thanks for asking me to speak. I'm very proud of that team and what they're achieving and what they stand for, really.
What was it that made you want to get involved? I did a little bit of research and understand that there was a campaign that caught your attention.
Yes, they did this fantastic Call Him Out campaign, and it consisted of actually teaching and speaking to the men's team around actually calling out sexism. That really caught my eye. So many times I had to stand up for myself or sort of deal with difficult situations just alone with a room full of men. I thought that was an incredible campaign, so well thought out, and it really made me want to become involved. And we'll become more involved in the future if it is possible for me, and they allow me.
And this is something that Lewes haven't just done once. They are constantly addressing issues. It's not a one-off, and I imagine that's in particular got your attention because you know that they're not going to sit down and take anything. They're going to keep striving forwards.
For so long, women have had to put up with sort of the stigma of, oh, well, they get injured more. Oh, well, they just don't do as well. The performance is not quite the same as that. Well, think about what it would mean to invest equally in these teams. Sky's the limit. And the older me just feels very strongly that 8-year-old girls shouldn't be given those messages. It should actually be about equality, equal investment, don't be limited by, if women are limited by injury, it's partly because they don't have the investment in the medical services to prevent and also to allow them to perform and also to sort of treat these injuries and return to their play. On top of it, actually, I just feel so strongly that what we do on the field really matters.
Is it a long-term thing for you?
Absolutely. I think with that great group of people that form it, honestly, I suspect you felt that atmosphere in that stadium. It is, it is really the beautiful of the beautiful game. And I think the power of that shouldn't be diminished by the challenges that we have ahead of us. So I think, looking forward, genuinely, I feel the sky's the limit, and it will take time, but watch out, Lewes FC is coming.
We will watch out. Thank you so much for your time, Ava, for speaking to us. I've got to get back out there because I've agreed to meet Scott Booth, the manager, in the dugout, and I'm due imminently. So thank you very much.
Well, best of luck. Go, Lewes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Scott, thank you very much for your time. We thought we'd make you feel comfortable in your home dugout here at Lewes. I want to start by asking you about the head coach role, because at any other club, I imagine people are told, just focus on the football and everything on the pitch. But you come to a club like this with the amazing work that's being done off the pitch as well. And I imagine you've got to get embroiled with that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's one of the reasons why I came to the club in the first place. And I think the fact is the club, they want everyone to be involved in the values and what the club stands for. I think you could see that when you come to the Pan here, and if you've got a big crowd, everyone behind you, everyone on the same page. And I think, it's important for football in general.
In terms of the championship and the way the club is progressing, are you happy with where you are?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a work in progress. The club is coming from a position where it wasn't professional, but we've made incredible strides this season.
Part of the vision of this football club as well is this self-sustainable model, and there's a lot of work that goes in it behind the scenes to get numbers through the gates, to start generating money. But that has a knock-on effect when it comes to playing personnel as well for you as a head coach when those transfer windows come round. Is that a challenge for you to operate within?
It's always a challenge. I know that we're not ever going to be the richest club in the world. The club work really hard off the pitch to bring in the finances that allow us to have a go each season, and I think that it is important, the financial aspect of things. That, as you say, then helps me on the pitch, but it's also part of my job to develop the players that we've already got, and that's a big part of my job. So I know there's a balance to be had there, but so far so good. The club is really ambitious. We would like to play in the WSL, so to be able to do that, you have to have that investment. Is
that the way that you're trying to target things?
Yeah, well, there is a plan. I mean, the plan is in place, as I said, to make it to the WSL. We know how difficult that will be, but we are ambitious, so we have to strive for that. To do that, you need to have not just a competitive squad. You need to have things right off the pitch as well. The infrastructure of the club has to be right. I think we're in a good place. This season we've been competitive, but we want to remain competitive for the rest of the season. We have 7 games left, and we want to make sure that we win as many of those games as we can.
We wish you all the best with the rest of the season and longer term as well. Thank you for your time today, and also for letting us in. We've seen training today, we've had time with your players. Thank you for all of that.
Not a problem at all.
Thank you.
Great chat there, Lindsay. It sounds like there's some big things ahead for this club.
Yeah, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch, it feels like there's progress going to be made here.
Yeah, I don't think this is the last time that we'll be here at Lewes. Big thank you to the club for giving us such great access. That's all we've got time for on Inside the WSL this week. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Sky Sports Football. Feel it all.